All right, guys. Hi, I'm Dan with Bart of the Red Hand, and this was the shirt I was wearing under the checkered shirt. I just realized that I messed up, and I started doing more of a breakdown video in the last one. So here is the actual quick reaction to the episode. Good. Okay, roll credits. No, that's not it. So the episode I thought was good. Was it super book accurate? No, it wasn't. But there was a lot of nods to the book and a lot of little things that were book accurate to a point. It's like they're taking things from the books, mixing it all up, and doing it in different places and in slightly different orders or in different ways. They're still telling the same story, just in a slightly different way, which is fine. That's what a television series like this is going to be. But let's go ahead and get into this. First of all, this is going to be completely spoiler-free for the books. I'm not going to go into book stuff here. I'm just going to point out a couple things that I really liked with the episode that I thought was neat. Some of it might be nods to the books, but it's not really so much of a spoiler. So, Perrin and Egwene getting caught by White Cloaks. Wonderful. You're starting to see some of the things that happen in the books with Perrin, as well as Egwene. And in this scene, you really start to see it a little bit more, given some of those nods to the books a little bit more heavy, which isn't bad. Good to see they didn't also capture Aram, at least that we didn't see him in the camp, but we'll see. I also really liked Eamon Valda. Very creepy dude. I like the moral conundrum he leaves them in as he's torturing Perrin and tells Egwene, hey, I'll tell you what, if you channel, I'll kill you and I'll let him go. But if you don't, I'll kill him and let you go. Discuss amongst yourselves. And then walks out. That is completely a child Valda, Eamon Valda thing to do. And just the way he speaks, you know, she calls him sir. He's like, the light deserves your, reverence, not me. Call me child Valda. Just in him sticking to that really shows that religious zealotry. Love how they're doing that. So kudos on that. Is all of that situation the way it happens in the books? No, but I still think it was good and effective for the storytelling. So from that aspect, they're doing a good job. On to Mat and Rand. Yeah, they make it to Tar Valon, which is actually where Egwene and Perrin were almost to. And while in there, there's some things that are occurring that happen in somewhere else in the books. So it's not exactly book accurate, but the main points that they're hitting do happen in the book. So I kind of like that. They do get to see Logain going down as they're perched up on a balcony, which I thought was cool. There's just a little discussion like, hey man, if either one of us end up being able to channel Rand, don't let us become that. And Rand's like, yeah, you no problem. I won't let that happen to you. You do the same for me, right? And Mat's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And you kind of see that Mat's having some issues still. So very interesting with all of that. Then you have the bulk of this episode, which is about the White Tower, the Aes Sedai, White Tower politics, the bond between an Aes Sedai and a warder, and what happens when that Aes Sedai dies. And it's really, there's a couple scenes in this episode that are really heart-wrenching. There's some that are hard to watch, like Perrin getting tortured. And it really does make sense for this to be called Blood Calls Blood, because there's a lot of blood in this. But I don't think that's what it's referencing. I think it's, there's a little bit of that. There, obviously, those of us who read the books know where that saying comes from. But in this, you have to look at this episode where there's blood, there's strife, there's people dealing with mourning, there's death, there's sickness, there's torture. But it's all sandwiched in between two funerals. Funeral, the very first scene, and the funeral, the very last scene. And those are even tied because while that funeral in the beginning was for everybody who died there at that encampment while they were trying to gentle Logain, it's got Carini there, the Aes Sedai, the green sister. And then at the end, it's her warder's funeral. So putting it between those two things is very interesting. And that call, blood calls blood might be that blood calls for Steppen's blood to join it in the afterlife. That's kind of the way I looked at that title. Let me know in the comments below, spoiler free, those of us who have read the books, don't go and explaining, oh, it's actually about this. Yeah, we know, but we're talking about the series here. Tell me why you think they named this Blood Calls Blood. So the last couple things I'm going to say before I start getting into my rating of this, I guess, in my quick reaction is I like the dynamic and how they're already showing White Tower politics and how the different Ajas will kind of immediately start trying to pounce on anyone brought in that they think is going to be a powerful Aes Sedai. You get that conversation between Liandrin and Moiraine talking about Nynaeve, and they're already, like, everybody's already chomping at the bit to get to her and bring her into their Aja. So they're showing that side of White Tower politics. On top of that, you see just how close the warders are, kind of almost in contrast. You know, while Moiraine and Alanna are close, clearly there's some friction between her and Liandrin. Her and Carini were not close at all. And she even tells Nynaeve, every woman here has their own agenda, their own set of goals. But the warders seem very in step when it comes to their brotherhood, if you will. So very interesting, those two things. Also interesting, we got to see those little statuettes of the Forsaken, as Stephen is putting, you know, a smudge stick or a bundle of sage that's burning at the end around it, trying to ward them off. I thought that was really interesting. So overall, yeah, solid 7.5, getting close to an 8. I might have given it somewhere like an 8 if it wasn't 1 month later, which I hate it when things do that. I know why they're doing it, because they're trying to get to major plot points within that first book, within the story the first book tells, I guess, is the key. But, you know, it hurts me to see a bunch of story cut out. But then when I think about it, I'm like, oh man, they cut all these things out. But really, what happened there? You know, as far as like what is integral to the overall story, not a ton. So I'm going to try really hard to not slam the series for that, because they went through a lot. You're trying to cram a ton into a few episodes. They're trying to tell a lot of story really fast, which maybe that's going to be in their detriment later on because they're not getting that character development. They also had to deal with the whole pandemic like everybody else. So, you know, maybe that had an aspect on the writing and the way that they decided to film and put out these episodes. I don't know for sure. All I know is right now I'm fairly happy with the result that I'm getting, and I'm hoping that they build on it later. If I had two gripes, two big knocks against this episode, one is the cutting forward a month. Two, I just don't like the look of Loial in comparison to my headcanon. I'm going to give it time. I will say this, as far as the actor, the voice, some of his mannerisms do remind me a lot of Loial. But I think in the first couple scenes we got, he felt kind of exposition-y. It's like, I'm going to throw all this stuff out there really fast so that you know what Ogier are. It seemed a little too in your face. But, you know, thinking about the books, maybe I need to go back and reread or re-listen to some of those scenes when we were first introduced to Loial and see what it was like then. Nonetheless, there's my quick reaction. Yeah, solid 7.5 in my opinion. 7.5 red hands. All right, don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and bell icon so you're notified whenever I come out with new content, which I will be doing throughout the weeks, going through, you know, multiple days throughout each week until the series ends this season. And then I'll try to keep it going with some continued content after that. Nonetheless, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.